The White House is continuing their offensive against Dr. Fauci for the crime of being liked and respected by the American people. But while this is going on, and we'll have more on that in just a moment, Dr. Fauci himself is continuing to speak out in a critical fashion against the way America addressed coronavirus during the first wave, saying we did not shut down entirely, and that's the reason why we went up. We started to come down, and then we plateaued at a level that was really quite high, about 20,000 infections a day. Then as we started to reopen, we're seeing the surges that we're seeing today as we speak. Now, Dr. Fauci said this during an online medical forum, effectively, airing his concerns and also giving advice for the future. Notably, he did say during that appearance that he didn't think a total lockdown would be necessary. We will see in a few weeks if that turns out to be true. But before we get to the next thing that the White House is going to be releasing against him, what do you think about the strategy of going after Dr. Fauci at this particular point? I mean, we knew that there had been sort of some bubbling up tension a couple months ago, but they really did wait to take it from Fox News attacking him to the White House more directly trying to undermine him.
It really is sick because you could just fire the guy if you want and be done with it. No, they got to do character assassination first. Now, if you're wondering why, it's not gratuitous, although sometimes it feels that way with Trump. No, it's firing a popular doctor in the middle of a pandemic is not a good idea politically. Firing an unpopular doctor might not be so bad. So before they fire him, they've got to try to make him unpopular. And that's the sick game that's being played right now. They're not worried about actually the actual pandemic. He hasn't met with Fauci since June 2nd. He hasn't gotten any information on the virus. I mean, there's idiots in the Republican Party like Kemp, the governor of Georgia, just recently, I think it was last month, saying, oh, nobody knew that you could spread the virus if you're asymptomatic. How could you find that out in June, right? Trump obviously famously is talking about how maybe you could inject yourself with bleach to cure it. Only a moron of epic proportions who's never talked to a scientist would say that. And so, and since he feels humiliated because of himself, Fauci didn't make him say that, he said that, right? He thinks one, his personality trait is to take it out on somebody like Fauci, blame anyone but yourself, usually people under you, almost always people under you. But number two, make him unpopular enough so that you don't get blowback when you fire him. It's the sickness of the Trump administration, and honestly, about 35% of the country who sees all this and co-signs on it.
Well, let's talk about how they're going to accomplish the strategy that you're referencing there. This morning on the Damage Report, we talked about some of the opposition research that they've already started to circulate. You might have seen over the weekend a whole lot of reporters all talking about like this sort of scoop that they've got. And it turned out that the White House had sent it to everybody. But anyway, and then Kayleigh McEnany saying that they're not doing any opposition research. Well, now we find out that Stephen Moore, a member of the White House's task force on reopening the economy, is preparing a new attack against White House COVID-19 task force health expert Dr. Anthony Fauci in the form of a memo titled Dr. Wrong. And if I could respond, I would say, Dr. No. What a big waste of time. And that's what you came up with. The whole task force came up with Dr. Wrong. So look, they're combing through, it's gonna take weeks, that's what they're doing. They're gonna comb through and find things that he said about the virus that were inaccurate to attempt to shatter people's confidence in them, which might work, honestly. Although it seems somewhat intellectually dishonest when the entire world was and still is learning about coronavirus on a daily basis. And our ideas about things like spontaneous reemergence, how long antibodies last, its ability to be transmitted via air, that is still developing even today, let alone in June, May, April, March, all of that. And so, okay, you can point out things where Dr. Fauci was wrong. I guarantee everyone else has been at least as wrong.
So John, a lot of the top scientists in the world then jumped to Fauci's defense. And they had a lot of great quotes saying he's one of the most accomplished doctors of our lifetimes. But I love Tom Friedman's quote. He's former director of the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. And he said, about Fauci getting some of the advice wrong in the beginning. He said, that's called science, not a mistake. The real deadly mistake is not listening to science. What he's saying there is Fauci was giving the best information that he had at the time. And the minute they got better information, they fix it because they actually believe in facts.
Yeah.
And that's how science works. Science doesn't come in with preconceived notions. That is literally the opposite of science. It tests out notions and then see which one is factually correct. But these monsters and barbarians and Neanderthals, they don't believe in science and they don't believe in facts. I mean, look at what John was explaining to you. The task force on reopening the economy could be doing things like this. For example, on reopening the schools, they could be having really important and interesting conversations about, wait, if there's teachers that have pre-existing conditions or are older, maybe we could have them zoom into a classroom. If there are kids with pre-existing conditions or grandparents at home, maybe they could zoom into the classroom. How could we make that happen? They could be having those type of conversations and 1,000 others. Instead, they're spending their time attacking the scientists who are actually trying to solve the pandemic, which of course, ironically, then makes the pandemic worse and makes it near impossible to reopen the economy. These are just the morons and barbarians that currently occupy the White House.
Let me throw out just a couple more quick updates about why Fauci is saying what he's saying and why Trump is saying what he's saying about Fauci. And then I have one more point to make. You're gonna see a chart showing over time cases in the EU and the US. And you can see that in the EU, where they tended to trust Fauci types more than Trump or Tucker types, the cases went down. And there are still cases, but they've been fairly steady for a couple of months now, whereas we are now spiking once again. During all of this time, Dr. Fauci's like sort of trust in the population for him to provide accurate information about the coronavirus is at 67%, whereas Trump has 26%. And boy, don't you want to have a long conversation with the people who reside in that 26%. But think about it, if he's mad, that's what the reporting says, the Washington Post, is Trump hates that someone who works for him is popular. A person he chose to communicate about medicine is liked by the American public for communicating about medicine. He finds that to be a bad thing. What a great boss. But think about it, if Trump had not been crazy when it came to every aspect of the pandemic from day one, saying insane things on a daily basis, would we even really know who Dr. Fauci is? Like, we would have seen him in some of the press conferences, but without the contrast of him versus people spreading active misinformation, including, as you said, that we could potentially drink disinfectants and we can shine a light up somewhere and that'll get rid of the virus, or that we've got 15 cases and it's gonna be gone in a couple of days. Like, Fauci only looks so good because no one else around him looked even middling. Like, if they had just taken it seriously, Trump could be the one with the high approval rating on the pandemic, like Obama had on his pandemic. But that's not the sort of self-analysis that he is likely to ever actually undergo.
Yeah, when you see that chart, and that's why we show it to you often, it's an open and shut case. We lead the world in cases, but we also lead the world in deaths by a lot. We're near 140,000 deaths from coronavirus now. And if you think it's a matter of opinion, you're wrong. Science is real, facts matter. Fauci is right, Trump is wrong. And we've lost tens of thousands of more Americans' lives because of how wrong Trump was.
Thanks for watching The Young Turks, really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges. You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, JR. So those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.